Hey, true believers. Chris Mack coming at you with another installment of our Age of Apocalypse event that we're going through. And again, Generation Next, one of my favorite books of this time. Just love how Scott Liddell and Chris Bachalo just really took their characters and flipped it on its head and just really gave us this interesting, semi-funny, believe it or not, dark story. And what I really like about this series, and I'll try to remember to show it as we go through each issue, but all the covers. So here's number one that we went through. You line it up and look at that. They interconnect. I did not know that when I was a kid. So, a couple years later I went, oh my God, they interconnect. I didn't recognize the coat there of Quietus or Vincetti's smoke. But yeah, all 4 issues interconnect. So I'll try to show that as we go. If I forget, feel free to make fun of me down in the comments. But anyway, this is probably my favorite issue of them all. Why? Well, why don't we go ahead and jump into it. So before we even get into all that, actually, you know what? Before we get into this, let's get into this. So we open up, and this is what I didn't want to spoil from last issue. So when we were talking about how all the Chronovariant mutants were killed by Apocalypse to specifically stop time travel, well, Peter gets a surprise because there is a surviving Chronovariant mutant, and that is his sister, Illyana Rasputin, who he thought was killed in the Kiev, I think I'm saying that right, slaughtering of Russia. Now, for you newer readers, Illyana Rasputin is a longtime favorite from the New Mutants. She, her main mutant ability is to kind of like time travel and teleport. Her added thing is she was a, what is that called? Prisoner of Limbo, and was released as a teen. And so she also has demon powers. So it makes her kind of a very terrifying combination in the 616 universe. Here, the Limbo portion did not happen, so her mutant ability, according to Know-It-All, is a latent ability. Speaking of which, before we go further, I forgot to mention it in my last review, but Know-It-All, it was supposed to be, according to Scott Liddell, was supposed to sort of be this twin or part of the twin that makes up M. For those of you that read Generation X, you know who M is. That whole idea got scrapped, so Know-It-All just kind of was sort of this one-off from the last issue. So a little bit of fun trivia there for y'all, and then of course now we're getting into Illyana Rasputin. Now check this out. This girl behind her says, "Yana, I'm cold and I'm hungry. Shh, he's coming." Now the reason I wanted to start with that is because I like how it says he's coming, and then it says, "Hither comes the Sugar Man." So great stuff right there, the way that they just kind of builds up the tension. So this issue, Generation Next, created by Scott Liddell and Chris Bachalo. Bachalo doing the artwork. Inks, Mark Buckingham. Colors, Steve Buccoletto and Electric Crayon. Lettering, Histarkins and Comicraft. And worried over. Love how Bob Harris always did that. Speaking of which, I think... Let me know, was Bob Harris, he was laid off from DC just recently as the editor-in-chief or something like that, wasn't he? Let me know down in the comments, but that really breaks my heart because he's been like a long-time favorite of mine in terms of being able to keep these stories fun and engaging for the audience. Now this issue, the print date was April 1995. And even though this is dark, depressing subject matter, in terms of like aesthetic and art, gorgeous. Look at the yellows and the reds, the noir shading of the inks here. So this is the Portland core where Illyana is being held. And this is like the main power hub of all of them, North America, of course, ran by Apocalypse. And just, man, just terrifying stuff. Now, the reason they introduced this little girl, she's kind of like the new character that we all can kind of see through her eyes about what the core is about. So Illyana kind of gives her a rundown of what's what and how to get yourself not noticed by the Sugar Man. And then what I like is how Bachalo and Liddell masterfully build the tension is the little girl goes, "Who is he?" "He's the Sugar Man. Shut up if you want to live." And then we start seeing wrench, 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 wrench. Hmm? Sniff, sniff. So we're introduced to this Sugar Man character, and we're like, well, what's this about? Silhouettes. Shadows. Builds the tension. You know, slop, slop. Sleep, sleep, sleep. Snort, snort, snort. And he runs away, and it just looks like this little monster in this pit of hell. You see him searching, sniffing, searching. And he runs. And Ileana goes, he's gone. Means he picked someone else. That's good, right? Silently crying. In a way, but it also means we're still alive. Whew. That is some bone-chilling reading right there. Now, that we kind of got that established on who Sugar Man is, who Ileana is, we see these two guards that are human. And listen, you know how usually guys will talk about what, or not guys, but just employees, friends after work, kind of, what'd you do today? Or how was your tally of, like, say, like the stock market? Or, you know, how many hamburgers did you flip today? Or how many patients did you save at the hospital today? Listen to these guys. So how'd you do today? Not good. 30 dead per square foot. You're slipping, Matt. Oh, what am I thinking? I forgot that family of 6. That is disgusting. That is just so, like, how's your day? Oh, I killed this many. Oh, it just, but that's what this world is. And so anyway, that's that. He goes, one thing we'll say about Apocalypse, though, is at least he keeps the shuttles running. So this looks like a hippie van meets an old school horse and carriage thing, and it's called the Apoc Shuttle. And what I like is this is actually skin in disguise, and I love this piece. Always been one of my favorite art pieces from the Age of Apocalypse. And I think that's one reason why when I was younger and I didn't understand a lot of the subject matter of what I was reading, the artwork always sucked me in. But now that I'm older, Liddell really hits you, like it helps enhance the art, you know what I mean? So anyway, these guys are going to this club called the Club Deluge because they work for Apocalypse, so they get perks. And these same dudes, I tell you, this is the life. Job security, a cot, an all-night pass to the club. And Enrique, you ever feel guilty? About what? Just that, well, we're human too, like the ones down in the core. You know, there but for the grace of God, there ain't no God, Matt. Apocalypse proved that years ago. Besides, we're not like them at all. We're free. It's like, sort of, I guess you're right. Of course I am. Now enough. Just talking like that can get you killed. That's one way true. Smoking's another. So here's Chamber. And the guy's like, you need a light? You could say that. Boom. You know, boomerang, what goes around comes around, and these guys kind of paid the toll. So there's a reason that they did this, but I like how just the emptiness on Chamber's face of what he just did because of the way those guys were talking and just the emptiness of them. And with that said, now we're getting another, again, dark subject matter, but beautiful view of the core because the artwork's beautiful. Not the core itself, but just the way that it's drawn, inked, colored. Great stuff. So this is Ileana, or not Ileana, this is Peter and Kitty getting ready to infiltrate the core. Kitty's like, you gotta be kidding me. And what I like is Colossus here says, for some reason I don't think she's happy that I might have found my long lost sister. If you do not feel up for this, Katya, I'm more than willing to do it alone. That's what I'm afraid of. Pardon? Nothing, dear. Less than nothing. So again, in this universe, Kitty is just very, very cold, calculating. And something happens that gets her nabbed. And I don't want to give away what it is. You guys will just have to read to find out. But I will show you the aftermath because, again, last issue I was talking about how she carries these claws on her wrists and the way she's cold, the way she smokes, her attitude very much goes back to this, that she was more than likely at some point in history was trained by Weapon X. Because, I mean, look at the way her claws are. Snick. And look at the ferocity on her face. That is full tilt Logan right there. So even though she loves Peter, she was trained by, in this universe, a very cold, hard killer. And it shows. And why her weapons of choice. So while that's happening, we're introduced to this character named Quietus, I think is how you say it. And this character here is Paige. She's posing as a call girl to get into the core. Because Peter says that our students are basically going through the front door, we're going around the back. And everyone's really terrified about this suicide mission that they're on. Now Quietus, even though he's hideous, we do get a moment where he actually feels kind of human because he says, I may be a mutant, but I have wants, needs, desires. Don't be afraid of my stature, because he's the one that runs the core. And he's smart too. He finds out that Paige is a traitor, like almost off the bat. And he uses something that he created, which, what is it? Read the book. So he snips her out quick. But even though he seems a little human in terms of the dialogue I just referenced, still cocky. Because there's something that he does that is his undoing. And it's quite brutal and disgusting how Vincent takes him out. So the reason that they had to take out Quietus is because he's the boss. And they need to find the file on Ileana. And none of them believe Peter. They don't like that they have to go on this errand. And Vincent says we have to trust each other, or that's what the X-Men do. And she goes, yeah, I know. I just don't like suicide missions. Nonsense. We'll look through Quietus' files, find her, and go. Do you honestly believe that? Honestly, no. Dishonestly, sure. Why not? So I kind of like how he's sort of this interesting optimist in a way. And again, just great artwork. Look at the way that Quietus looks here. Why is he back? Well, you're just going to have to read the book again, guys. And I like how Skin here just all of a sudden smacks Quietus, and he's like, what? And he goes, tee-hee-hee-hee. So, why did Skin punch Quietus in the face? How's Quietus alive? And why is he saying he wants to walk his morning rounds with the ugliest ones? Well, guys, I'm going to have to say, please read this book. This is an absolutely awesome issue. And what's even funny is Buccalo and Lobdell at the end actually say, believe it or not, this is the upbeat issue, because after this, things get very drab and dark quick. But what I like too is how everyone keeps talking about Sugar Man, and you don't see him through the whole issue. You just get these silhouettes on how he's the boss and how he's kind of terrifying. So just kind of keep that in mind. I just like that pacing and tension building. She's like, well, wait a minute, what's going on here? So a lot to love from this issue, guys. Please definitely support your local comic shop and grab yourself a copy. And if you wouldn't mind, if you've enjoyed this review, hitting like, share, and subscribe helps the club channel more than you can possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that fancy little X bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys can get notified. Come to the channel and have a dialogue with us down in the comments below, or just to hear your thoughts on these books, because nothing more than just great to be sharing passions with one another. So with that said, I hope y'all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading. Thank y'all so much for stopping by and checking out the review, and happy hunting, true believers.